Hello everyone, thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Max, and today I will be doing my review for WandaVision Episode 9. Alright, so Episode 9 of WandaVision was the finale of the show. So far as we know, they could do a Season 2, but I really do feel like the show wrapped up as a whole, and I can't see there being other seasons continuing on just with how Wanda's story is going to be going into Doctor Strange, and I feel like they'll kind of wrap things up there and not need to continue with a second season. But hey, if they find a way to do it, they find a way to do it, and I will not be mad at that. So this episode kind of wrapped up everything that we saw in the 8 episodes before. And I think it was a pretty good series/season finale and a good finale for the show. There were a couple issues I had, but I'll get into those later. But first, let's go into the positives. Wanda got her Scarlet Witch costume and kind of her full set of powers. And I think the way they did this was really cool, seeing her put the runes on the hex and then, kind of using what Agatha used against her earlier regarding the fact that the witch who casts the runes is the only witch who's able to use her powers. So I think it was really cool how Wanda kind of flipped that on Agatha and was able to save Westview in a sense, even though the entire thing was caused by her to begin with. But I do think it was a really cool way to bring her powers in, and I think the costume looks great. I really liked the look of the Halloween costume, and this is kind of like a real version of that. You know, the Halloween costume we saw in the Halloween episode was very much like you could get it at Party City type thing, but this is like a full-on MCU costume, and it still very much keeps the same look of the Scarlet Witch costume in the comics and the Halloween one, and just kind of what Wanda's costume looks like overall, but amplified it to make it the, full-on Scarlet Witch costume. So I think that was great. I also loved Vision versus Vision. I think we all saw this coming after the cliffhanger of episode 8, but I really did like the fight between the two, because not only was it a physical fight, but it was a kind of mental fight, because, we saw the two Visions initially when they were fighting go up against each other, and it was really cool to see kind of, Vision versus Vision, or, someone with the same powers kind of go up against him. And then they had kind of a mental knowledge battle. So they were, kind of going back and forth, since White Vision's purpose was to terminate the Vision. And neither of them were technically Vision, because I think they said that he had to have the memories, the body, and the Infinity Stone. And since neither of them had that, I think it was just like they agreed that White Vision wouldn't kill the Vision that Wanda created, and then the Vision that Wanda created gave White Vision the memories that Vision had, throughout his whole life, so to speak. So right now, it's kind of unclear whether White Vision saw himself as Vision and terminated himself, or if he is just kind of out there and he will come into the movies or possible shows later on. I think that could have been cleared up a little bit, because, he was talking about how he was programmed to terminate Vision, and then the last thing he says is, "I am Vision." So it was a little weird there, but overall the dynamic of the two characters was awesome. And I think it was really cool to see Vision kind of get the spotlight in terms of action, because he was going up against himself. Something else I really liked is how this episode, along with the rest of the show, because of what Wanda did, was very kind of condensed in the space it was in, but the way that they did the hex and kind of how it went up into, the clouds and was really just kind of expanded and it grew, I think that made the town of Westview feel larger than it was, because it really does look like a just kind of small town, little suburb area. But when Wanda and Agatha are fighting, it really seems like a kind of big area, and you get the scope of how big it is, especially since it goes as high as it does, and it really set up for a great battle area between the two witches. So those were the main things I liked about the episode. Now let's get into the things I did not like. And I will do a video kind of going over the things I didn't like, but to just kind of go over it briefly here. I did not like the Quicksilver or lack of Quicksilver reveal. I feel like they didn't handle the Darkhold very well, and that's something I'll get into in my other video, but Basically, I think they didn't explain it. Like, I know what it is, but to the general audience, they did a terrible job of explaining what the Darkhold was, and I think that really made the show suffer, because if you're an outsider or general movie watcher who decided to watch the series because you like the MCU films, you're not going to know what this is unless you've seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or I believe the Darkhold popped up in Runaways too. But I just feel like they did not explain that well, and then also, what the Darkhold is at all. So hopefully they do that for the general audience more in Doctor Strange, and we'll, I guess see how that goes. And then the last thing I was not a huge fan of is the conclusion of the show, because I feel like we kind of ended where we started, and in a way that makes sense. But it was really just kind of the end credit scenes that built up things for the MCU moving forward, whereas the show itself didn't really contribute to anything. And don't get me wrong, I still really like the show, but I just feel like it's almost to the point where the show is unnecessary to the rest of the MCU besides the last end credit scenes. And I almost wonder if they could have used those to build into the show and maybe get the weight of what happened in WandaVision to kind of push forward even more, rather than, like in the end credit scenes, we saw that Monica, most likely, it's either Nick Fury or Phil Coulson, but I think it's Nick Fury, how he wants to talk to Monica in space. And then Wanda has the Darkhold, and she's either doing that kind of projection thing that Doctor Strange does, or she is kind of separated from the Scarlet Witch side of her and the Wanda side of her. But I think those are really setting up some important things, most likely Doctor Strange 2 and Secret Invasion. But the show overall, I feel like, was great as a show, but it didn't contribute to the MCU as a whole in terms of what the show did. But yeah, overall, I really liked this episode. I'm glad we got a little bit more of Wu and Darcy. I was a little worried since we hadn't seen their characters a whole lot, but I think, Jimmy Woo getting his magic tricks down even more and, saying flourish or whatever when he took off the handcuffs, I thought that was funny. And then when Darcy ran into Hayward and she crashed the truck into his truck and said, "Have fun in prison," I thought that was really funny. And I hope Darcy comes back, because they've really built her up as a good comedic character, but a good character as a whole that can contribute to stories too. I think they did that in Thor, but here they really kind of, with Jimmy Woo as well, they amplified those characters to have a greater presence in the MCU. And I think there's a lot of spots where they could bring them in. Most likely future shows, I could see Jimmy Woo popping up in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then maybe Darcy comes back in Thor Love and Thunder. So overall, really liked this episode, really liked the series of WandaVision, and I can't wait to see what they do in future shows, such as Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki. So that's all I have for now. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you like it, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.